welcome to Less of Me Success Stories. I'm your host, Robyn Dobbins, and my co-host, Scott King, is running the chat tonight.
Hey there, everybody. I'm so happy to have you guys here. We got an awesome story this evening for you. We just want to let you guys know that we know what it's like to feel hopeless and helpless, and we provide a platform here for people to share their stories of success and their journeys of how dietary intervention has transformed their lives. So again, thank you for joining us.
Would you all please take a second to share our broadcast with your friends on your socials? That way we can have more people join us while we have this conversation. As a reminder, neither of us nor our guests are medical professionals. We are not offering any medical advice. Please consult with your medical team before attempting any interventions. So for my introduction tonight, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. She's an NSNG person. So we want to go ahead and give credit where credit is due, and that is Vinny Tortorich is the trademark holder for NSNG, which is no sugars, no grains. And I'm sure we're going to talk about him and his co-host, Anna Vocino, who is Eat Happy Kitchen, Eat Happy author, and a podcast host as well. So you may hear her speak of these people, and we just want to make sure they get their credit because they have meant so much to us along the way. And NSNG, No Sugars, No Grains, is just one of the many stops on the long kind of trail of ketogenic diets or carb diets. It's just one piece of a much bigger puzzle, and we're accepting of all low carb diets, but we just want to share these stories about how these low carb diets have changed lives. So let me go into our guest. She started NSNG a little over 7 years ago, and she and her husband have both resolved several health issues, and not the least of which was a cancer diagnosis that she's going to tell us about. She's very fortunate in that she works in an area where she is allowed to kind of talk about her journey and help other people. So she's actually out there at work teaching people about diet and lifestyle changes so that they can also attempt to do the same thing in their own lives, which I am just so in awe of. And she's really passionate about food. So if anybody has a question as we go along about food recipes, that kind of thing, she might have a thing or two to tell you about those things. I'm very excited. We've been following her story for quite some time. And I think everyone here is going to be inspired by the journey that she has been on. So Kristy, this is Kristy Smith, and welcome. Please tell us your story.
Well, hello. Thank you, Robyn and Scott, for having me. Basically, I am a 13-year cancer survivor. It did come back once mid-journey. So I am a 2-time cancer survivor. In 2011, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was 32 years old, and nobody ever told me anything about diet. Nobody said, hey, why don't you cut out sugar? Cancer feeds on sugar. The only thing I was told is while I was going through chemo is that I needed to make sure that all my food was cooked and not to eat anything raw for risk of infection, or I was on a nupogenic diet. But nobody really addressed anything having to do with diet. They didn't say cut out, the crap, don't eat, anything that's bad for you. So I went through the journey in 2011. Started off with, I decided to have a bilateral mastectomy because cancer runs in my family. And I thought, you know what, why not just get rid of it? We decided I didn't necessarily need my breasts for the reason of, breastfeeding anymore. We were done having kids. So I went ahead and decided I was just going to do a bilateral mastectomy. Then I went through chemo. I went through 6 rounds of chemo and radiation. I had 27 sessions of radiation, healed from all of that. About a year or two later, I went through and I did reconstructive surgery. And this was back in 2013. Go along, everything's good. I hit 5 years in April of 2016. So once you've hit 5 years, you think, okay, I'm great. I'm going to get put in remission. Everything's good. Then in July of 2016, I started having this little twinge in my chest, a little weird kind of poking pain. And so I brought it up to my oncologist, and the oncologist goes, well, let's run you through a CT scan. Okay, let's go, and so through testing, they thought, well, the cancer's back. And so I went through a lot of testing between, I think, October and December of 2016, and cancer had returned. There was a spot in my sternum and a spot in my liver. And when I went in, it was probably, I think, December 28th. I went in, I saw my oncologist, and I was seeing a different oncologist at this time. The one that I had seen back during the first cancer diagnosis never mentioned anything about diet or anything. And one of my notes, I used to carry around a notebook going through the cancer journey, so I would be able to document everything, take notes, very organized as like what I needed to do. And so one of my notes was, ask him, what am I messing up with my diet, and is that what's causing the cancer to return? So we were getting ready to leave the appointment. That was my last thing to ask him, and he said, cut out your sugars and your grains. And I said, okay. And my husband and I look at each other and we're like, crap, we are going to be eating salads the rest of our lives. Let me backtrack just a little bit. So in October or November of 2016, my brother-in-law had come across Vinnie Tortorich through the Adam Carolla show. And he brings out Anna's cookbook and he says, look, I'm going to start eating like this. And we're foodies. We always get together. We're, Blackstone, Traeger, barbecue, however we can cook something, we're going to cook it. We're going to have, friends over. We're going to hang out, food, big, huge spread, eat until we can, we're so stuffed. And so I kind of, I'm looking through Anna's cookbook and I'm like, are you kidding me? You're going to what? And so that's our big joke, is that, like, him bringing me into this NSNG world. It's like, I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing. I didn't know Vinny. I didn't know what NSNG was. So for him, to have said, hey, I'm going to eat like this, I had to go back in December and go, okay, I'm on board. Teach me what to do. Show me what to do. He put me in the group probably December 30th, December 31st of 2016. And that was our first NSNG experience, was getting in the group, chatting with people in there, reading things in there, buying Anna's cookbooks, starting to listen to Vinny's podcast, doing all of my research on NSNG and how am I going to conquer cancer. At the time, my boys were elementary and middle school aged, and so it's like, when they were first diagnosed, they were like 4 and 6, and now they're having to deal with it again, middle school, elementary, middle school age, and I'm like, okay, I got to do whatever I can in order to have longevity in my life, to be able to live as long as I can. And the oncologist, I'm like, okay, well, what do we need to do? So basically, because my cancer was estrogen positive, they did some testing and they decided I need to get rid of my ovaries, because the estrogen, your body makes about 85% of estrogen. So number one, cut out your ovaries. Okay, fine, take them. So in February of 2017, I had an oophorectomy, and they removed my ovaries. And I went through a lot of genetic testing. I was seeing a secondary oncologist. If anybody has cancer and you guys are struggling through any sort of cancer, I highly recommend that you go and you seek out Dr. Robert Nagurney, who is in Long Beach, California. He is a scientist and a phenomenal oncologist. He actually took my tumor the first time that I had cancer, and he was able to test it to see what kind of chemo my body was going to be resistant against and what kind of chemo was going to actually work for me and was going to kill the cancer. And so I went and saw him a second time, and he went and he ran me through all of this testing through a company called Foundation One, to be able to see if I had genetic mutations. And if I had certain genetic mutations, he was going to recommend a certain way to treat the cancer. And then if it didn't come back with the mutations, then he was going to go ahead and say, yes, what you're going to do is you're going to do the oophorectomy, get rid of your estrogen in your body. You're going to go on medications. And so I did exactly that. It did not come back with the mutations as severe as they had thought, because if it had, I would have gone on like a horrible regimen of chemo. And so the way it came back was good. And so what they ended up doing was taking the ovaries, and then in March of 2017, I started on 2 different medications. One is called Ibrance, and the other one is letrozole. The Ibrance cuts the cell cycle, so it stops the cancer from continuing to cycle the cells, and the letrozole cuts the rest of the estrogen in the body. So I went on that in March of 2017, and in May of 2017, I had a PET scan. In May of 2017, they said, we cannot detect the cancer. So I do credit a little bit of this to medication, but I had gone NSNG, beginning of January or beginning of 2017. So in 5 months, I starved the cancer. I strongly believe that my diet plays a huge role in this. And like you said, Robyn, I work for a chiropractor. So we are in the healthcare industry. We are all about healing the body. We're all about relieving inflammation from the body. And NSNG is just an amazing lifestyle to be able to do all of that. Not only, how I've been able to beat cancer, but also just everything that I have learned through NSNG, I bring to my job. I bring it to our patients. I talk to them about their diet. I have had a big handful of them come back and go, okay, I've given it a try. We've had patients come in where I haven't seen them for a year, and they come back in and they're 100 pounds skinnier because they've listened to what I've had to say. They've changed their lifestyle, they've lost the weight, and they feel amazing. So I don't think it matters, whether you have cancer, you have diabetes, you're overweight, whatever disease you are trying to cure, make yourself, be the best version of you can be. I think that, with the lifestyle that we're living right now, that it's been a godsend, that it's just, I can't say enough about it, and about how healthy I feel, and how, how many different things we've been able to control with our diet. My husband, we came home and we started talking about it after that doctor appointment in December, and we were like, okay, well, what are we going to have? What are we going to eat? How are we going to do this? So he goes, I'm on board. I'm going to do this with you. There's no sense in us cooking 2 different meals. And so we kind of just started doing our research and figuring out exactly how we needed to eat. We started off that very first night having fish, which was not cooked very well. We're like, oh my goodness, like how, we kind of started on a bad note, but it got way better as time went on. We're all about, the Traeger, smoking meat, cooking on the Blackstone. My husband loves to braise, short ribs, and we eat really well. Like if you go hungry on this diet, that's your fault. Is basically how I look at it. He's an amazing chef. He's a firefighter, so of course he has to know how to cook. But yeah, we jumped right into it. We, figure out what we need to be cooking, how we need to be eating, reading recipes and ingredients. That's huge, reading labels. And so he jumped into this with me, and he has lost 50 pounds. I've lost 50 pounds. We were not in this to lose weight. We were in this to make a lifestyle change and to make to beat cancer. And so, like, I can't say enough about the support I have from my husband. For him to be able to give up the lifestyle that we once knew, and I'm grateful. But I also know in the long run, like, we've probably saved each other's lives, because being in his profession, he needs to remain healthy. He needs to be able to, climb flights of stairs and run into burning buildings. And, he needs to be healthy. And so for him to lose the weight, for him to not have the inflammation that he once had in his body has been huge. So I really think that's been just being NSNG. Like, I can't say enough about the lifestyle. And then let's see. So I do remember going through, probably a couple months in, we opened the refrigerator and we're like, okay, it's time to clean out the cabinets, or the shelves. So we went through, pulled away every last salad dressing, anything that had any sort of sugar in it, soybean oil, any sort of crap seed oil, we threw out. We went through the cupboard. We have basically like a cupboard for the kids, because we do allow them to eat. They're adults now, so they've got their cupboard where they've got a few things that are not NSNG. Then we have our shelving, and so we had to go through and really clean the entire kitchen out, basically. So that was hard, because we're not food wasters. So you're cleaning out and throwing away hundreds of dollars worth of condiments and all that stuff, and but it was worth it. I'm not gonna eat that anymore. We make our own condiments, we make our own barbecue sauce, we make our own salad dressings. So anything that we eat, we make ourselves, basically. So yeah, so we're February, March, April, going down the line. We're now into May of 2017, detecting no cancer on the PET scans. And so we just go on living life. I remain on this medication. And going months, like every 3 to 4 months, my oncologist wants me to do a PET scan. And I'm thinking, okay, for the first year, okay, do a PET scan, detect no cancer. Do a PET scan, detect no cancer. And I'm thinking to myself, as they're doing these PET scans, they are pumping me full of a radioactive glucose, which is sugar. So I have really talked to my oncologist. It's been 5, 6, 7 years now. So probably about year 5, she's like, okay, we can go every 7 to 8 months now. I have her on like a year to a year and a half now, because she knows I don't want to be pumped full of the radioactive glucose. So that's just like another one of the things that I don't want to have to deal with putting into my body. So that's basically where I'm at. I feel like my diet has completely controlled the cancer. Super, super grateful for Vinny, for Anna, for the entire NSNG community, because I've learned so much through being part of the NSNG Vinny Tortorch's No Sugar, No Grain Facebook group. Met a lot of different people, especially in our area. I live in Southern California. Back in 2018, we had an NSNG meetup in Riverside at my brother and sister-in-law's house. And that was just a bunch of people from the NSNG community that came and sharing our stories and sharing food. Everything that was there was no sugar, no grain. So yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell. Like I said, I do work for a chiropractor. Give it a little shout out, Dr. Pena. He's in Riverside. He's a fantastic doctor. I really appreciate working for him. I worked for him since July of 2017. And about 8 months after I started working for him, he came to me and he said, hey, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go back to the coffee. We have a little coffee bar. He goes, I want you to go back to the little coffee bar, and I want you to grab everything that is not good to put in your coffee. So I went out there and I took the little coffee mate creamers and the stevia packs and the sugar packs, and he goes, take them and go put them in the dumpster. Because I think I finally had convinced him how important being NSNG was. And then not only that, but ever since then, we've been sharing my story with our patients. We give out a little handout that's got, Vinny's information on it. I will tell them where to go to find the NSNG information, tell them to go to the website, get the PDF, just share anything I can to be able to help alleviate, because our patients are coming in and they are in a severe amount of pain. They've got back pain, they've got neck pain, they're miserable. So not only is it that their spine might be out of alignment or that they have compressed discs or anything like that, they've also got issues with food. And food is fuel and food is medicine. So I am thankful that I am in the position with Dr. Pena in the office that I'm able to share my story and that I'm able to help people strive for a better lifestyle.
You're funny. You said, I don't have 20 minutes of a story. You do.
What time is it?
But you talk really fast. So you gave us your 20-minute spiel in 18 minutes. So you did great job.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I am going to go back. It really is a lot to unpack because you're talking very specifically about cancer, but I'm sure there was a lot of other things that were going on there. So, but I'm going to start with the cancer thing because I think it's really important to note exactly what you said and just kind of reiterate this is that, modern medicine does exist for a reason. And there are times in which you need to use that. And you had to go the chemotherapy route. You had to go the radiation route the first time, and you have to take these pills. It's part of your treatment plan. But the important thing to note is how the lifestyle of eating and supporting your body with nutritious food and food that's not going to continue to poison your body will support what the doctors are also giving you. And there's a lot of books and stuff out there about that. But do you know more about the philosophy that your doctor was using?
The second oncologist about the no sugar and the no grain.
How he knew, right, that you were changing your diet. Did he implement that as part of that treatment plan for himself?
He was actually the person. So I asked him, I said, what can I do with my diet? So knowing what I knew from my brother-in-law from when he had told me, hey, I'm going to start eating this way, that he I knew a little bit about it, but I wasn't fully like knowledged in that situation and like in what he was doing and how he had started eating. And so when I went to the oncologist, we were wrapping up the appointment and I just mentioned, hey, can we talk about nutrition? Am I making this worse by not eating a healthy diet? Obviously we know processed foods aren't good for you. So I didn't know if the processed foods I was eating and the sugar or grains or anything, I guess I never really thought like, oh, I eat grains, that it's bad for you. I know, eating sugar, eating, cake or ice cream or anything like that, that it's not good for you, but if you do it in moderation, it's okay. So when the doctor said, cut out your sugar, cancer feeds on sugar. So he actually really started with that. I mean, I'll tell people like, oh, he just said, cut out your sugars and then your grains. He said, cut out your sugar. And I said, okay. And then, I took that as cut out your sugar. You know, it was black and white. You know, there was no gray area of sugar. And then he said, once you've conquered cutting out your sugar, then I want you to cut out your grains. And I said, okay. And he said, as your grains process in your body, it turns to a glucose, which we know is sugar. So I thought, okay, you know what? I'm not going to do it in these 2 steps. I'm going to do it full force, 100%. If I'm going in, I'm going all in. I'm not messing around. I don't have time to mess around. I've got a family that needs me. You know, and I wasn't ready, you know, to give up. I'm like, if God wants me, he's going to have to take me kicking and screaming because I'm not ready to give up. I'm a fighter. And that's, you know, we came home and that's what we did. We absolutely just jumped full force into it. Like I said, it wasn't black and white, or I'm sorry, it was black and white, no gray areas. And until I knew that I was cancer free for probably a good couple years, I was NSNG AF. So, you know, it wasn't worth it to me. I put it in my mind. It was a mindset for me. I put it in my mind and in my head. I won't eat that. It's not that I can't, because I can eat whatever I want. I won't eat that. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I love that. There's a real importance in a very strong why. Yours was blaring in your face. I think other people often struggle with finding what their why is, but it does. Not everyone has to have a cancer diagnosis to have a good why. So that's a challenge to put out there for everyone, is that the why really can't be weight loss, and the why can't really be overall health. You got to think, I want to sit on the floor with my grandkids one day, and then be able to stand back up again. Or I want to be able to go for a hike, or, you know, whatever that thing is, as long as you can hold on to it for that piece, that why, it's going to make all of the other stuff kind of wash away. It's that can't, it changes that verbiage from I can't have to I just won't have. It doesn't suit my goals. It doesn't suit my needs. And you can thrive. Look at you now. You can thrive because you had such a strong why. I love that you were able to find a doctor. Unfortunately, that's not very easy for a lot of people. But I think it's good to know that those doctors exist and that you can find them. It just might take a little research. So if you get some sort of diagnosis that you're a little bit confused about, do the work to find something. You don't, a lot of times that stuff moves fast, and sometimes it really does need to, but it doesn't always need to move fast. So it's important to maybe take that step back, take that breath. I'm not saying take a whole year, but see if you can find some resources that will incorporate how you eat into your treatment plan. And those places do exist. I know there's a cancer center here in Texas, in Houston, that will work with a ketogenic diet as part of the treatment plan. So they exist, they're around. It's just, you got to sometimes do a little legwork in order to get to that.
My biggest thing is that, like, with doctors, that, you know, the first doctor that I saw with the oncologist, they never mentioned a diet. And then this oncologist that I saw, the second one around, he mentioned diet. The third, so he actually ended up leaving my provider. He went to go work for City of Hope. And so he was, you know, he had moved on. And so the third oncologist that I was set up with, he did not agree with my diet at all. He wanted me to become a vegan. He wanted me to drink fruit juice. He told me that drinking fruit juice is going to be better than eating meat. And I was like, oh no, we're going to be butting heads here. So my thing with doctors is, if you don't like your doctor, if your doctor isn't a good fit for you, you have the say in your healthcare. So advocate for yourself and go find another doctor. There's nothing saying that you have to be, you know, seeing the doctor that you were originally set up with. I've changed doctors multiple times for that exact reason. I mean, there's no way I'm going to be letting this doctor dictate my health, who wants me to be drinking fruit juice and feeding the cancer sugar. that I'm going to continue to see him. That made zero sense to me. So after this particular oncologist, I was like, I'm done with him. I got to go find somebody else. And so I did my shopping and I found a perfect doctor for me. She's totally on board with the way that I eat. I still see her. She checks in with me. We do like a video conference every 3 months and then a in person. So I get checkups twice a year in person and twice a year either on the phone or video. But she, like I said, she's totally on board with the way that I'm eating, and she's astonished that I'm the longest running patient that she has that is on Ibrance, because it only has a certain, like how they give that median of like the expectancy of how long it's going to last. I've been on this medication for 7 years, and I think it's like a 24-month thing that after 24 months, it may become, your body becomes accustomed to that medication and it kind of stops working. So she said, you know what, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So let's just continue on with this medication and you just keep doing what you're doing. So she's supportive of my diet and what I'm doing. And so, like I said, if you yourself do not get along with your doctor, you don't agree with what they're saying, then keep shopping around and find somebody until you can get a good fit.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. It's not always an easy thing. We have a friend that's struggling with finding a doctor right now. But they're out there. You just got to take the time to find that person that's a fit, because they're supposed to be working for you and with you. And anytime you're butting heads, that's just not going to go anywhere. I've been called non-compliant way too many times to want to continue to do that. So I completely understand. Scott, you said you had a question?
Yeah, I had a question, but I also wanted to interject really quick about, find the doctor that fits for you, because I had lost my doctor because she moved on, who was on board with how I eat. I went and set up a new patient consultation with one, and the doctor asked me, how did you lose all this weight? You lost over 300 pounds, blah, blah, blah. And then also followed up immediately by saying, oh, what do you think of like maybe taking Ozempic? And my question was like, well, what was wrong with what I was doing to lose 300 pounds? So, I mean, I get it's all about soliciting people that back them, but it is pretty ridiculous, So yes, find who works for you. And again, they work for you. So,
I do have to say that that's the frustrating thing about, you go to the regular doctor and they're like, oh, here's meds. Let's put you on more meds. Let's put you on weight loss drug, the Wegovy and Ozempic, whatever all those weight loss things are, that it's just frustrating. They're such pill pushers that's like, why not do it a natural way? And that's, again, why I'm so appreciative of who I work for, doing holistic healing, natural healing. There's no magic pill in healing back pain or healing, your inflammation. It's all about the food that you eat.
Absolutely. So I have a question for you, and it's gonna fold into several questions. I feel so. This doctor or this oncologist that told you about don't eat sugar, don't eat grains. Was this just coincidental, or was this person aware of like NSNG or?
I don't think so. I think that he just knew that he knows cancer feeds on sugar. You're an oncologist, you should know that. So I don't think that, that he was. And unfortunately, I think it was April, so 4 months after, that's when he had transitioned over to City of Hope. And so I'd lost him and I didn't get another appointment with him. I've actually heard he is back to my provider, but he's up in the Central California area, kind of more Northern California. So, if I did want to go see him, I guess I could. I would love to maybe just send him a message and say thank you, because him telling me exactly what he told me, and I can remember standing in his office that day, him telling me that. And so, like, I don't think he was an NSNG type person. I just think that, he knows.
Yeah,
He knew
I mean,
nutrition.
it makes it almost more valuable to me, because he just knows from a medical standpoint, facts, So you go to NSNG or you go no, before you knew what NSNG was, you basically started doing it. Did you? It sounds like you went all in right away, right?
Yes.
Okay. And were there like any struggles you had starting with it? I mean, or was it fairly easy, or were you just ready, or how did that journey take?
We weren't sure what our diet was going to look like. We weren't sure the menu. You know, we weren't sure from day to day what we were going to eat. I think immediately I had hopped on the internet and put in, you know, recipes for no sugar and no grain. Was able to pull a lot of different recipes from Pinterest, just internet overall. We had, you know, gotten Anna's cookbook right away. And so I think, you know, just kind of doing that research and then starting to listen to podcasts, everything just started to make sense. Once I started listening to Vinny's podcasts, things started to make sense. My favorite podcasts have to be the ones when he has somebody that is a cancer research specialist on there, some doctor or somebody that knows cancer, knows why it's important to eat the way that we're eating, because, you know, to not feed the cancer. And so those are kind of just some of the favorite ones that I've heard. I've saved a bunch of them so I can go back and listen, and they all make so much sense. But I think maybe listening to Anna, listening to Vinny, and just really diving into the Vinny Tortorich's Facebook group, that really helped me. I was able to get recipes because we were kind of lost at first, you know, don't really know what to do. You know, okay, I'm going to make a meatloaf. What am I going to put in my meatloaf? Obviously not breadcrumbs. You know, we want spaghetti, or a, you know, a pasta type dish. So I'm going to do a spaghetti squash, or, you know, something along those lines, where we're trying to make the foods that we're so accustomed to, but how are we going to make them, you know, and I as much as I love steak, I can't eat steak 24/7, you know? So yeah, it was a struggle at first, just because you don't know. You don't know, and you don't know if you're doing it right, and you don't know if that one little last ingredient on a label is an okay ingredient or not. So it was easiest for us just to go bacon and eggs. You know, dinner time would be protein and a vegetable. And so everything was always fresh cooked, you know, fresh vegetables, nothing canned. We basically have gone away from all canned foods, and everything is fresh, fruits, vegetables, meats, you know, that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I know what you mean, because in the very beginning too, it's hard to get your mind around it, because we have a lifetime of the opposite being told to us the whole entire time. So while we're doing this, yeah, we're back in the back of our mind in the beginning, we're thinking, this is not right, or I'm doing something wrong here. So I understand where you're coming from there. So you're now no sugar, no grains. How long did it take you to start seeing any symptoms, and what were those symptoms or improvements, or from eating that way?
The weight just fell off. I can't tell you like how long it took to lose that weight, but I just started noticing the clothes were getting too big. You know, I would look in the mirror and go, oh, I don't have 3 chins anymore. That was the biggest thing. I don't remember. It's been 7 years or so. So I don't remember kind of the first time that I was like, oh wow, I'm, you know, really starting to feel the differences. The hugest difference for me, obviously, the one big thing that I noticed was my PET scan. It came back with no cancer.
And now that kind of was I just wrote that question down, kind of right there. So you're eating this way. What was the first time that you had a doctor kind of say, wow, there's something, or was that particular doctor the same one, or
no,
you know,
so
when did they acknowledge that this is working?
yeah, so the doctor that I saw that told me to eat no sugars and no grains, by April he was gone, and I didn't have my PET scan until May. And the new doctor didn't really agree with, you know, I feel like there might have been a little bit of miscommunication, because at first they said that the tumor had shrunk, and then I had gotten a phone call back that said, no, there's no cancer. There's no, we cannot detect the cancer. And so at this time I was seeing the doctor that wanted me to drink the fruit juice. So for me, for him to go, yeah, go ahead and continue to eat. I'm sorry, he wanted me to change my diet and get off of the meats and drink fruit juice and that sort of thing. I didn't last with him very long, because we butted heads. I think I had one additional appointment after that, and I would tell him, my diet and all that stuff. And I strongly believe that it was my diet that was doing this. And yeah, he was gone.
Yeah, that it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard almost for him to defend his standpoint too, when you're looking at these results and he scans. And I mean, basically, if he was a lawyer, it'd be a hard thing to fight against if you're in law, court. It's just you just kind of go with evidence or facts, and it kind of seemed like he was lacking there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, my oncologist now, I believe that she believes in what I am doing, but she herself is not an NSNG type person. And I don't know if she tells her patients to eat like that. But she's very much on board. She has no complaints about my diet. She doesn't tell me to eat, anything different. She doesn't tell me that I need carbohydrates or anything like that. She lets me do what I want to do.
Awesome.
I think it's important to note that you asked that question. Enough of us, we now know that diet can help so many different things. For me, it's my mental health, and for you, it's your cancer diagnosis. But if we don't ask the question, we don't know where our doctor is with that. And, just to find somebody that's like your current doctor right now, that at least accepts it and isn't trying to fight you for that is a good thing. And I wonder how often the previous doctor, the one who did answer your question, I wonder how often he just is forthcoming with that information. It doesn't seem like that happens very often. I wish it did. But it probably goes against some unwritten rule that we don't know about with the pharmaceutical companies, and they're not allowed to say these things. But unfortunately for them, we have the internet and we can find these things out for ourselves. I want to switch gears a little bit, because I know that this has been a family event for you. You talked about your husband and you talked about your boys. I'm just curious, because I know that your boys are older now. You have a senior in high school and one that's in college. You never, you said they were allowed to have their pantry with whatever. So I'm guessing you didn't really enforce for them how to eat. But you were both eating NSNG in front of your children. Have they incorporated that in any way in their lives?
Yeah, I do believe they have. They know how I eat. They know that when it's time to make dinner, that they better be cooking an NSNG meal. They're very aware of what I can eat. If they make something for dinner, like they'll make chicken and rice, they'll make sure that I have a cauliflower rice, or they'll make sure that I have a different vegetable, because they know I will not eat the rice. They do incorporate a lot. They're not big soda drinkers. We drink a lot of the sparkling waters around here. But yeah, they do. Basically, when we came up with eating NSNG, we said, look, we are not going to force this on you, but when we make a meal, you will eat what is served. And if you don't want that, then figure it out. So they're very conscientious, especially if it's like a quick grab and go type dinner where we have to go grab something to eat because we just don't have the time to make dinner. They're very conscientious as we go like 3 different places, and they know. So yeah, they're very conscientious about it. They make sure, even when like when we're in the kitchen and we're making food, if they've used the butter out of the butter dish, they better they know that if they leave a breadcrumb on the butter, then that's not okay. So we actually have our own butter dishes. But my husband had mentioned to them one time, like using the cutting board, like, look, if you leave, you don't wipe up the cutting board when you're done making your toast and you leave crumbs all over there, and then mom comes along and thinks it's clean and then she gets all the little crumbs. We don't want that. Like, there was no room for error for me back when I very first started this journey. There was no room for error. I didn't want one single breadcrumb in me, one grain of sugar. I wanted to make sure I was slaying this cancer. So yeah, they're very aware of how we eat. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for them that they've, gotten the knowledge and they jump in the kitchen, they help out. They make dinner, they cook all the time, and they're very aware. We do let them, like I said, we'll buy them bread, we'll buy them tortillas. If we have burgers or tacos or whatever, like they get that sort of thing. We don't buy like dinner rolls and that sort of thing. No Texas toast. Like we don't do that sort of thing. But if we're eating a simple meal where it's a burger, they can have a bun. And like I said, they're adults now, so they get to make those decisions on their own. We don't force this on them, but I'm hoping that they just take this for years down the road and they do know the difference between eating a healthy meal and eating something that's, processed or they shouldn't be eating. When we go out to eat, they make wiser decisions than when they used to.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I never did that for my kids. I never forced it upon them, hoping that they would see the example. It was a battle that I honestly didn't have the energy to fight at the time. So I'm curious to see what happens in their future. My daughter's doing pretty well with it. My son's like completely against it. So, but I've heard him like proselytize to people about how they should eat while he's like shoving candy in his mouth. So I guess that means there's hope. And I wanted to ask you that because I see that question all the time, where how do I get my children to do it? And I think what you said and how you've handled bringing NSNG into your household is really how it's done. Yeah,
I think you lead by example.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think down the line, from what I've seen on the internet about your sons, that I think down the line they're definitely gonna to catch on to it, probably more, because they know how much it has helped you, and it'll be interesting to see that as it unfolds. Scott?
Yeah, so I had a question for you. You're talking about which I think it's awesome how the chiropractor you work for is totally on board and lets you discuss it and everything, which it does make sense because generally chiropractors are usually into treating the body without, properly first, without medicine as being the only way to go to. So he lets you talk about it. You've told patients about it. Have you seen any success in patients that have done it, and what does that look like? And tell me like some of their journeys, perhaps.
Yes, I have. We actually had a patient come in, and I can talk about this. It's not HIPAA violation because I'm not going to use her name. She came in, she had cancer, she had a feeding tube, and she's showing us what the feeding tube consists of. It's like Ensure, and it's the first ingredient is a high fructose corn syrup in her little feeding tube, that she gets to put into her feeding tube in her trach. And I am mind blown. I mean, I messaged Anna Vicino and I am like, can you guys please talk about this on one of your podcasts? Or, can you please tell me a recipe that I can tell her what to make that she can put in a food processor? Because I was so furious and so mad. And I brought up some recipes to her and I was able to help get nutrition and get food in her stomach that she otherwise wouldn't have had because she was pumping herself full of sugar as she has cancer herself. And I think that she had made maybe like a butternut squash soup or cauliflower soup or something where she could easily had put in the food processor and put it in the feeding tube. So things like that, where I've really been able to open eyes to patients. We had another patient that came in not too long ago, and she said, "Oh, I eat so healthy," but she's in an enormous amount of pain, and her inflammation is skyrocketing. And she goes, "I eat, okay, what do you eat? How do you drink your coffee?" "Oh, I drink with no sugar added coffee mate." "Oh, okay." Well, let's open up the internet and pull the ingredients off of that. And I show her, I said, high fructose corn syrup, and then the next one is corn syrup. And she goes, "That's sugar." I go, "Exactly. But they're allowed to say no sugar added because it's not sugar, in the sense of the FDA. We had a patient that came in that my boss is known for years, always overweight. And it was when I was out with, during the COVID time, I had taken about 6 weeks off just because I'm immune compromised. We were kind of scared about me being among the general population, scared of me getting COVID. And so I'd taken about 6 weeks off, and he texted me one time and he's like, "Hey, do you have any idea who this is?" And I'm looking at the picture and I'm like, "I have no idea." And then he sent me the picture of him when he was 400 pounds. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "Because of you, he's lost this weight." So there are a good handful of patients that I know of that have, over time listened to my story. Just, I give them the Reader's Digest version. I will sit down with them for a very long time. There's patients that I've talked to for hours and hours, and there's patients I've only had 5 minutes to talk to. So it just depends on our patient flow. Sometimes we set out a portion of time for me to be able, it's like we do close for 2 hours for lunch. I don't get that 2 hours of a lunch break because I'm typically, wrapping up things in the office, doing things, talking to patients, or setting out the time where I block an hour of my lunch break to be able to continue their treatment in a nutrition sense and be able to help them out with their dietary goals.
Makes sense. That's awesome. And I want to kind of go discuss something you mentioned about how like that person lost weight and because of you. I encourage people to share their journey, be open about it, because you might not think it's registering to somebody or someone is weighing on somebody's mind or anything, but you'll be surprised when you hear about it. Sometimes people just, it needs to stir, the gears need to be spinning in their head. For example, my wife had a friend, a little bit overweight. She's a little thing, so any little bit of weight showed on her. And I hadn't seen her in, I don't know, 6-8 months. We were at an event and I heard this girl talking to her, my wife. I had no idea who she was. Turned out it's that friend, and she started doing NSNG because she saw working for me, and I told her about it. She just never told me about it. She lost like 82 pounds, and it was completely changed her life. So yes, the point of saying that is share your journey, because you might not think it might think it's falling on deaf ears, but people are hearing it, and it might change someone's life.
Absolutely. I completely agree. It's changed my parents' life. My parents had gone in SNG. It's changed friends' lives. We have a good friend group of, some of our friends that were overweight that they've kind of hopped on the bandwagon and they've lost weight. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I will share my story, and if it affects just one person, then it will have been worth it for what I've been through.
That's wonderful. It's great to hear so many people who have been influenced by just watching you. That is exactly why Scott and I wanted to do this show, is that one person. There's one person out there that is going to hear what you have to say, and they're going to be like, "I want to try this for myself," and it will change their life. And You're spreading the hope that we wish to spread through this channel. We're almost out of time, but I do want to touch on one thing. Is that your husband? He said he's a firefighter, and we had our friend Daniel on. Our second show, I believe. I'm very fascinated with how the first responder community is functioning right now, because I know I have driven past an accident, and we're not looking at the epitome of health from the first responders, and that's very sad to me to see. We, the community, rely on our first responders to come and help us in our time of great need. And I would really like to see them to be very healthy people who can function at their chosen profession. Is he able to bring the lifestyle into his firehouse?
Yes, absolutely. He basically, once we started eating like this, his crew has always been kind of a keto type crew. And so when we started this journey, he brought it in there, and he had a very good crew, and they were all on board, and the crew has changed since then. I'm not so sure about the crew he's with now, if they eat, a keto or an NSNG type lifestyle. They do know when he is on shift, that's how they make dinner. So yeah, he has definitely brought the NSNG lifestyle into the firehouse. And then when he basically works 3 days in a row. There's 3 people on shift, and so each night they take turns cooking dinner. And so yeah, they know that if he's on duty, that's how they're going to eat.
I would love to see these first responders that are within these groups just get together and then just kind of start touring the country and teaching this amongst them. I think everyone, this is an actual everyone wins situation. If we can get that population to have the best health, it keeps them safe, it keeps us safe. So I'm really glad that maybe it's not 100% in the firehouse, but at least they're aware, and it sounds like they're doing their best, and it sounds like it's probably worlds better than what I'm seeing on the side of the road when I pass an accident. Scott, do you have anything else?
If you can give me a Cliff Note version really quick, I even wrote this down. You said you make your own sauces and everything like that. Do you have, is it like more like a vinegar based sauce? Because I'm a foodie myself.
So barbecue sauce is always Anna's barbecue sauce.
Okay.
The Eat Happy barbecue sauce, or you cannot go wrong with that. I use a balsamic vinegar, but it's a hickory balsamic vinegar my mom had picked up at a farmer's market. So we use that as our the vinegar, and it kind of changes the flavor a little bit. It's fantastic. Mayonnaise has the apple cider vinegar in it. Ketchup, I use a recipe. I think I had found it on Pinterest. If you guys need to follow me on Pinterest, I have an NSNG board that you can pull recipes from. If there is a recipe on my NSNG board and it calls for sugar of any sort, if it's honey or whatever, I do make that recipe. I will not put whatever the sugar is. If it's honey, I omit it. I make a cornbread from Danielle Walker. I don't know if you guys know who she is. Her thing is against all grain. So she was diagnosed, I think, with an autoimmune disease, and she makes a lot of recipes with agave and honey. I just completely omit whatever that is, but she has a really great cornbread recipe that uses coconut flour and almond flour, a couple other things. Yeah, you guys can follow me on Pinterest if you're looking for any sort of an NSNG type recipe. I want to say my mayonnaise recipe is on there. My ketchup recipe is on there. And then salad dressings, all kinds of salad dressings, homemade blue cheese dressing, homemade ranch dressing. And then of course your regular balsamic, oil and vinegar type thing.
I think that kind of segues perfectly into, since we're wrapping it up, where can people find you?
I am on Instagram as Pink Ribbon Survivor. I am on Facebook, Kristy Smith. Good luck there. And then I am on X, I guess it's called now. I don't necessarily get on there often. I've never figured out like how it works, so I kind of don't really, go down the rabbit hole on that one. And then, like I had said, if you could find me on Pinterest, you could do that. And then also, I believe that I have put out a lot of really great information on the NSNG Vinnie Tortorich's page. So, like I had said earlier, if you just search my name in the search bar on Vinnie Tortorich's No Sugar, No Grain, I've told my story over and over again. I've shared pictures. I've shared Facelift Friday, and I've shared. Is that what it's called? What's it called?
I think you're right.
A facelift. I don't know.
Facelift Friday, and there's
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyways, I've shared multiple, before and after pictures. And then that's basically it for social media. It's just my main two are Instagram and Facebook. And then if you're having a hard time finding me on Facebook, you probably can put in my maiden name. So it's Kristy Mulkey, Mulkey. Because I think that name is tied to my Kristy Smith. So if you're looking for, something where you wanted to message me, you need a little bit more of incentive to, why you should be eating the way you're eating. Or if you need encouragement, please reach out to me. I'm all about that, lifting people up and helping them work through their journey, whether they're trying to cure a disease or they just want to be the better form of themselves that they possibly can be. Just like for you, Scott, when you decided to do this, it was for your kids. That if you can't go through the day without feeling like you need a nap when your kids nap, then you're probably eating the wrong foods, because bad foods make you lethargic and tired, and you have to have that energy. I wish that I had that when they were little. I wish I had that energy, and I didn't have it until I started eating the NSNG lifestyle.
Well, Scott answered all the questions, so I guess it's good. No, I do actually have all of your information except for whatever your Pinterest is under. So after we disconnect from YouTube, let me know what that is, and I will put all of that in the show notes. And everyone, please, she is dead serious. Contact her if you need a little support in your journey, because this is how we all met each other. We all met each other asking each other questions. That Facebook group, that Vinnie Tortorich's No Sugars, No Grains Facebook group, is a private group. You have to ask to join it. Once you're in there, everyone is extremely supportive. You can ask questions. People share their successes and they share their failures, so everybody can learn from everyone else. And that's where all of us met. It's been a great, for me, like I was saying before we went on air, is that I didn't have any friends when we moved here, and then it was the shutdown, and it was the NSNG group that they were my friends, and we were all online together, and it's just a really good and supportive group. So we have actually done it. We've reached our hour, and we always end our show with the same question. So now, Kristy, it's your turn. If you had one piece of advice to give to someone who is just starting to navigate their health journey, what would it be?
What is your why? What is your why? Why do you feel like you need to have a healthy lifestyle? You look around, is it your family? Is it your overweight? Is it you're trying to beat cancer? Are you trying to beat diabetes? What is your why? And my why is my family. I knew that I needed to be healthy and be here for the long run. because I had a long way to go, that's my why. It's my
Perfect.
family.
Boy, are we
And
thankful.
yeah. But a lot of people, they have to figure out what it is. What is it? Is it because you're sleeping horribly and you feel miserable all the time? Is it, a diagnosis? Is it whatever it is? There's a reason why, but you have to figure it out for yourself. Robyn, your why is different than Scott's why, is different than mine, is different than my husband's. And everybody has a purpose, and you have to look deep down and figure it out for yourself. One last thing is mindset. You have to put in your mind that it's not worth it for me to eat that, but it is worth it for me to eat this.
I love that. One thing that I've been really sitting with recently is value. Like, you are worth that effort. You are worth that. You have value. And if you're putting this stuff in your body that's harmful, then you are not valuing yourself. And that goes to everyone you love. Like, if you're not valuing yourself, how much can you give to the people around you? So I've been sitting with that, and I think it falls right in line with what you just said. And I love your answer. I love all these answers, and I'm still very thankful that we asked this question.
There was somebody on an episode you guys just did that they were afraid that they were being selfish.
Yes.
I forget who it was, but you're not being selfish.
That's our friend Jen, and I tell her all the time, you're not being selfish. She's such a giver, and we love her for that. But sometimes you do have to take that moment for yourself and put yourself first. And it is not selfish. It's just valuing yourself enough to know that you're worth that effort. So I'm glad you bring that up.
It's just like the airplane when the bag comes down, you're supposed to put your own mask on first, and then you take care of if I don't take care of myself first, how am I going to take care of my kids? How am I going to take care of my responsibilities, my household, my family? So sometimes it is worth it to put yourself as number one.
Absolutely. And I think that is a great spot to end our show. Kristy, I can't thank you enough for joining us. It's been wonderful to get to chat with you. All of our viewers, thank you so much for being here and watching us. We appreciate all of your support, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye, everyone.